strong cold front moving into the region later on tonight, and this is going to bring us some impacts as we head into Saturday morning. So if you can give me about 30 seconds to a minute, I'll get everything here working behind the scenes, and we'll try and make this pretty quick for tonight. Now, I'll give you a look at radar over the last 4 hours or so. We are seeing, we did see one round of moisture move through earlier on in the day. We're now getting ready to see our second one move more fully into the region. Already starting to see some of those showers across west central and northwestern Montana, but more of that is expected to move in later on tonight. Okay, that's working there. All right, that's working there, and there's that one as well. So we are in good shape, and we'll get started with this. So thank you for tuning in this evening. Like I said, I'm going to try and make this pretty brief of an update, as most of the impact that we're going to see, at least in the short term, is going to be happening overnight tonight, though some lingering effects into tomorrow morning, maybe even the early afternoon, can't be ruled out as well. So thanks again for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments as we go throughout this update, feel free to ask in the chat section, and I'll try and answer those to the best of my abilities. So again, we did have that first round of moisture that moved through earlier on in the day, especially for northwest Montana. We saw that rain-snow mix for areas south of US 2, but from areas near US 2 and north, we did see that transition over from rain to snow in the valleys, and saw a pretty decent amount of accumulation, at least in a short period of time there, towards Kalispell, and some pretty decent rainfall looks to have taken place as well. Now, right now, temperatures are in the 30s area-wide, and really for the most part almost statewide out of southeastern Montana, where we're in the 40s. But right now, 35 for Missoula, Butte, and Bozeman, 32 in Dillon, and 36 in Kalispell. These temperatures are going to be important over the next couple of days, and for many areas, this may be about as warm as we're going to be over the next, say, 48 hours, maybe even near 72 hours, as we will see some much colder air starting to roll into the region. Now, the first storm system that rolled through earlier brought us that first wave of moisture. You can see this roughly in here as that lifts off into parts of southeastern Alberta, Saskatchewan, and then eventually into Manitoba. Storm number 2 is right on its heels. You see this brighter area starting to take shape kind of in the northeastern part of Washington, southern British Columbia. This is what's going to drag that cold front across western Montana and bring us those impacts later on tonight before we start to quiet down and a ridge of high pressure builds in from the west. Now, across the area, we have winter weather advisories that either are in effect or will shortly be in effect. These up here in northwest Montana, including the Flathead and Mission Valleys, Kootenai Cabinet region, Lower Clark Fork region, West Glacier, and East Glacier Park regions. Those are already in effect, continuing into tomorrow afternoon. These further off to the south, so what most of west central and southwestern Montana's, those will begin between, say, between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning. And those will also be continuing into Saturday afternoon. So really in all of these areas here shaded in blue, we could be talking about accumulating snowfall, the potential of some snow squalls, with some very intense winds that could lead to near zero visibility and lead to some very tricky and potentially even dangerous travel within those zones. So that'll be something we keep a very close eye on. Again, as we get into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, the whole region should be starting to quiet down. Now, going back to radar, we can see this moisture streaming from relatively west-southwest to east-northeast across the region. I'm going to stop this as we are starting to get a little bit more of this moderate to heavy precipitation into places like the Jocko Valley, the Missoula Valley, northern Bitterroot Valley, where we're seeing some of these darker blues. This is going to primarily be snow for areas above 3,500 feet. I was just outside, and in Missoula itself, we've been kind of in that back and forth mix of snow back to rain, back to snow, back to rain. So these lower elevations right on US 93, we're probably going to continue to see that mix of rain and snow for the next couple of hours. but just slightly higher elevations, even on, say, the South Hills of Missoula, on the benches of the Bitterroot. If it isn't all snow in the valleys, we are going to see that just a little bit above valley floors, if it isn't already down to valley floors in a few locations. Sort of what you're seeing here, closer to our lee. You're seeing a little bit of this green showing up. Same story up here, just outside off the Bison Range here, north of or south of Charlotte, over near Moise. We're picking up a little bit of rain, so that rain-snow mix certainly is going to be there. Seeing more of this snow starting to develop back off to the west, and this is going to be more in association with the cold front that's coming in. So really areas from Trout Creek up to Heron and Knoxon, even Libby and Troy, I would say expect to see more in the way of snow over the next little bit. You can see a lot of the greens still showing up back into the Idaho Panhandle. So rain-snow mix is going to continue, but you notice how those greens turn over to all blues. And I think this sharp line right here, see how it brightens up right there? This may be the cold front itself. So that's going to be starting to move into northwest Montana here on pretty short order into parts of Sanders and Lincoln counties. That's who's going to see this cold front first. And like I said, that's going to probably be moving in over the next 1 to 2 hours. And then later on tonight, we're going to see more of that. Really, the whole front is going to pass through the region, and we'll see more active weather. But even ahead of it, this moisture is starting to build back in, so some scattered showers, maybe some accumulations over places like Lolo, Lookout, and Lost Trail passes initially. Could see some light accumulations, maybe some minor travel impacts. But as we go into Future Tracker, here's really how we're going to likely see this play out. I'm going to back this up just a hair. I just saw the comment from Richard. Howdy, neighbors. Indeed, I totally agree. Again, I should have mentioned this before. Hope everybody has had a good holiday week, had a good Christmas yesterday. Hopefully everybody was enjoying time with friends and family. At least I hope that was the case for many of you. And overall, I hope the rest of 2025 goes well for everybody as well. And now going back into Future Tracker and kind of timing this out, it's done a good job picking up on a little bit of that rain mixing in on the US 93 corridor. Watch as we go later on into the night. That's still in place all the way through about midnight. You're still seeing some of that showing up as more of this moisture starts to move in. But I think beyond midnight, you notice how these pinks and greens really disappear once we get to, say, 2 o'clock. That cold front, which I think is this line right here, stretching from near Cutbank back down to near, not a little bit east of Seeley Lake, but closer to, say, Ovando, Drummond, and then back down into the southern Bitterroot. That is going to be our cold front passing through the area. Once it does, temperatures should begin to fall. We're going to see those snow levels crashing to valley floors, and this will continue to march quickly through the area. You see it now. This is about 7 o'clock from Havre down to Lewistown, and just in between, really down towards Dillon. So in between Butte and Bozeman, the Three Forks area, that'll be roughly when it moves through. Bozeman, I think closer to 8 or 9, that front moves through. Areas along and behind that front, we'll see those winds pick back up once again. We could be talking gusts 30 to 40, maybe even 45 miles per hour. And while these winds are nowhere near as strong as what we saw last week that brought all the trees down and caused all the power outages, still, like we've been dealing with, just how wet the soils are, the potential for more downed trees, some spotty power outages, can't rule those out, though I think we will see those likely stay on the lower side, at least in comparison to what we had last week with the widespread power outages. So again, can't rule those out. It is going to be a little bit less likely as compared to last week with that. In addition to the winds that we're going to see with this, those winds could combine with some of the snow out here, potentially moderate to heavy at times. And you see how some of these bands begin to form here on Future Tracker. This is looking into early Saturday morning, and this is going to be a possibility really from once the front gets to your area until, say, about midday tomorrow, that we're going to be dealing with that chance of some intense snow squalls. Biggest concerns with those will be those winds combining with the snow to create near whiteout conditions and some rapidly changing road conditions. You could see, you could go from perfectly good conditions to zero visibility, snow-covered roads, 50-mile-per-hour winds in the span of, say, a mile or two. Those can hit really, really fast and lead to some very dangerous road conditions. And that's going to be a possibility all throughout the morning. I think really for west central and southwestern Montana will be the primary focuses, or the primary focus for some of those. But even northwest Montana, can't rule those out. And really the areas that'll probably see the greatest impact from those snow bands will be over our mountain passes, including places like the Chief Joseph Pass area, Lost Trail Pass, back down into Big Hole Pass into northwest Beaverhead County, Lolo, even towards Homestake, McDonald, Rogers passes could be dealing with some pretty tricky travel. And the same thing as you go further down here towards Bozeman, even 191 from Bozeman down through Big Sky and West Yellowstone, where there could be some problems as we head into Saturday morning. And this may even linger into the early afternoon hours into southwest Montana. I think once we get beyond, say, 5, 6 o'clock, overall conditions should slowly start to improve, as you begin to see here on Future Tracker. The later into the evening we go, still looking at I-90 about being a focal point for some of these showers outside of northwest Montana. But you look 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we're pretty much done with this storm system starting to roll out of the area. And then high pressure builds in on the back side of things. So you might be asking, how much snowfall are we going to see with this, or at least that what we could see? This is going to be for storm totals, including some of what has already fallen. So look out, Lolo, Marias passes will likely be our top snowfall getters out of this. 6 to 10 inches on average, could see an isolated total of 10 to 12 inches, I'd say, especially towards Marias and Lolo as things look like right now. And then for most of our valleys, we're talking about a dusting upwards to 4 inches for most of our valleys, one exception maybe the lower Clark Fork region. So up towards places like Evero Hill, you might see a little bit more snowfall there on US 93. Back up the Highway 200 corridor, there might be a few locations that get a little bit heavier snowfall, say Thompson Falls, Trout Creek, but I still think most areas we're talking 1 to 4 inches. And then a few of our other passes, I'll use Bozeman Pass for an example, we could be more in that, I'd say, 3 to 8 inch range. Menida, Rogers, or Menida, Homestake, McDonald passes, we're probably talking about 1 to 4 inches as well in those zones. So that's enough to create some icy travel here and there, especially if you happen to get underneath one of those snow squalls. The one exception for more valley areas, and granted this, West Yellowstone's not really what I consider a valley area, but it is a lower area in comparison to some of the passes, we're still going to be looking at the potential of about 4 to 8 inches there at West Yellowstone. So you're kind of the one exception for some of our communities. But that's really what we're looking at from that sense. I did see one comment pop in, so I'm going to check that really quick. Run in. This is what I was hoping for to find on YouTube tonight. Already subbed. Big thumbs up. Looks like a white new year and a gentle introduction for the winter to newcomers. Good, clear explanation. Well, again, that's my whole goal, is just to inform. Oops, if I can get this spun around. There we go. Is really just to inform everybody about what we can expect. So I appreciate you again watching. And this time of year, especially with the holidays in, we do have newcomers that are into the state that may be, coming up here to go and try and go skiing in the area. People visiting family, even just taking vacation up here for the first time. So while a lot of locals are going like, oh, this is nothing new, it's always good, I think, to bring up the importance that not everybody who is going to be here, especially at this time of the year, are going to be locals. So hopefully I can continue to help just bring that good, clear explanation about what we can expect, and I'll continue to do that in the future. So again, really that's the big key takeaway, though, for tonight. We're going to see the strong cold front move through, could see those wind gusts 40, 50 miles per hour in a few localized areas. That combines with the snow passing through, which could be moderate to heavy at times. And that's a perfect combination for those snow squalls that we don't really want to mess with. They're not things you want to deal with, especially if you're driving on the roads. Again, the good news is as this cold front's passing through, for the most part, outside of places like Bozeman, Livingston, Big Sky, West Yellowstone, this front will likely pass through the area between midnight and 7 a.m. So most people will still be asleep and not getting to get the major impacts from this. But even as you're waking up in the morning, there will likely still be some issues on the roads, just some slick spots and things of that sense. Speaking of snow squalls, I did pull something up and I forgot to put it into my playlist, so let me show you this. So here's kind of a breakdown of snow squalls. You can be in perfectly nice conditions, the roads, the ground, no snow anywhere nearby. And watch how quickly that this may suddenly bring in that intense burst of snow and how quickly that may accumulate rapidly. So with snow squalls, they're sudden onset. You have that intense burst of snow near whiteout conditions, so near zero visibility. You lose track of where the road is. You see those rapidly deteriorating road conditions, but just as quickly as you get into one of these, you may actually pop out the other side. They're usually pretty narrow, small in scale, and usually moving through an area very quickly. So my advice is, if you happen to get under one of these really intense snow bands, you can even get snow squall warnings on occasion. And if you happen to get that pop up on your phone, either from the NBC Montana weather app or even just your emergency alerts on your phone, because that should pop up as well, I would say, find a spot where you can pull off safely and let it pass, because usually those move through very quickly, especially with the motion of these bands, which could be more in that 30 to 50 mile per hour range, just with the flow in the atmosphere. It doesn't always happen, especially if you just happen to be on the wrong orientation of a road where it matches up perfectly with those snow bands. It's a possibility, but yeah, just if you have to be out on the road, especially tomorrow morning, just make sure to stay aware of the road conditions, the weather conditions, before you head on out, and then you can get to your destination in safety and go from there. Conditions should start to slowly improve as we head into tomorrow afternoon, at least when it comes to the snowfall side of things, but there is still going to be a big issue, and I'll show you that as I look at our temperatures for this weekend. You see those highs in the upper 20s, lower 30s for Saturday. Those are mostly going to be morning high temperatures. That's going to be with the cold front, because as the cold front passes through, that'll put a cap on the high temperatures, if not allow those temperatures to fall through the day. So I think a lot of these places, we're talking these morning high temperatures anywhere from, say, 6 to 8 o'clock. Once we just get a little bit of that daytime, that morning heating, I guess, heating in air quotes, but temperatures falling through the day, those overnight lows falling down into the single digits and teens area-wide. So we're going to be talking 3 degrees for Sunday morning in Bozeman and Butte, 8 for Kalispell, 11 in Missoula. One other note, especially looking up here towards Kalispell, the reason for the cold temperatures is we are going to have we're going to have this initial Pacific front moving west to east across the area. That's what's going to bring the winds, the snow. There's also going to be an Arctic front that kind of tails behind it that actually is a backdoor front. It's going to be coming from this north central Montana and just kind of seeping its way into primarily northwest Montana and then down towards the Bozeman area. And really how far south and west that goes may determine how cold we get for Sunday morning. But as that happens, as those temperatures fall even more rapidly, with the roads that are wet, we may see a flash freeze. So that even after, say, the snow is done, if the roads are still wet and you have that backdoor cold front slide through and you see those temperatures falling from, say, 29 degrees down to 18 or 15 degrees really quickly, you could see the moisture on the roads freeze very quickly. That can lead to some very slick conditions as well, essentially as it turns into a skating rink at that point, even after most of the snow has cleared your area. So that's going to be another concern, especially for places like Essex, Marias Pass, up US 2, even getting into say like the Sealy-Swan Valley, the Highway 200 corridor. They're east of Ovando in the Clearwater Junction area. We could be dealing with some of those problems as well. McDonald Pass, Homestake Pass, maybe a little bit of that as well, though it's a little bit less likely the further into kind of that west central, southwest Montana area. So really getting, again, northwest Montana, Flathead Valley, US 2, Glacier National Park, Marias Pass. Those are going to be our primary focuses for, what is the word? Is it foci? Multiple, then a big focus of this is going to be that. But so even after the snowy weather is over, just certainly keep that in the back of your mind, especially up towards the Flathead Valley. There could still be an issue with that quick freezing of the roads into tomorrow afternoon. And then that cold air really just stays in place. We're looking at temperatures around 22 to 24 degrees for those high temperatures on Sunday. And that cold air doesn't completely clear out of the area. Even into Monday and Tuesday, though, temperatures will be starting to warm up. But you notice we go from about 40 to 50% chance of some lingering snow showers into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to close out 2025. We are looking dry. Maybe a few light showers may try and work their way in this particular flow pattern. We're going to see northwesterly flow and a high pressure ridge. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick, kind of give you a sense of what that's going to look like. This may not work just the way I have it set up right now. Oh, it does. Okay, we're in good shape. So there's the storm system passing through tonight and into tomorrow. Saturday night into Sunday, this ridge begins to build in, and you see it's really starting to take over the entirety of the west. That northwesterly flow right there may bring a few showers primarily into northwest Montana, but for the most part, we should be staying dry, and that's going to allow those temperatures to start to warm up as well. Oops, if I can type, that would be important. And I'm just going to bring up Missoula for an example. We're going to see those temperatures Sunday, 24 degrees, 5 degrees below average, but by the time we get into Wednesday, we're nearly 40 degrees again, 10 degrees above average, and that's going to be the case down towards Bozeman as well. Though a little bit warmer, we're back to nearly to over 15 degrees above average as we get into the middle parts of next week. So just as we went into Christmas with above average temperatures, record highs for places like Dillon and Bozeman, we could be approaching similar types of positions as we get into the end of 2025 and New Year's Day on 2026. Also, one extra note, the coldest temperatures that we see on average, our average lowest high temperatures, occur on the 31st of December and the 1st of January. So, in general, our temperatures will gradually start to warm up. That doesn't mean we're not going to see a big cold snap with well below zero temperatures as we get into January and February. That is certainly going to be an ongoing possibility, and I'd say probability. At this point, we've seen a big cool down like that every year about this time of year. So, or at least since I've been here, which is going on. This will be my third winter here. But long story short, just be prepared for some more cold snaps. But in general, we have had a very mild winter to this point. Not a whole lot of temperatures below average. And we're going to just barely drop below average as we head into Sunday. And then we're right back above average as quickly as that changes over from Sunday into Monday. So that's pretty much everything I had. Again, if last minute questions, feel free to ask those. Again, thanks for tuning in this evening. Hope you had a great holiday week, and hopefully you have a fantastic weekend ahead as well. Main takeaways, cold fronts passing through really from here until tomorrow morning. Along and behind that front, we're going to see those strong winds picking up, the potential of snow squalls, some moderate to heavy snowfall near zero visibility if we do happen to see some of those develop. But in general, just be prepared for reduced visibility, some moderate to heavy accumulating snowfall at times. Greatest impacts will be up over places like Lolo, Lookout, Marias Passes, where we could see about 6 to 12 inches, full storm totals, including what has already fallen. And then for our valleys, a dusting upwards to 4 inches. I'd say places like Missoula, Hamilton, we're talking a dusting up to 2 inches. The Flathead Valley, we could be maybe more in that 1 to 4 inch range. And then as we get toward a little bit further to the south and west, those snow totals start to drop off outside of northwest Beaverhead County, the Butte area where we could be closer again to 4 inches, and then those passes down into southwest Montana where we could be in that I'll say 3 to 8 inch range as things look right now. And with any storm, you can see some isolated heavier totals than what's forecasted. You can see plenty of totals less than that, but here that's kind of our rough expectation for this. And with snow bands, it makes it even trickier because they are very narrow. If you get underneath it, you could see a quick accumulation of snow, and you could be 5 miles on either side of that and see hardly anything. So it makes it an extra level of tricky when it's just going to be narrow bands that develop once you get behind that front. After that, temperatures start to fall very quickly, especially in northwest Montana where we see that backdoor cold front. Temperatures will be gradually falling through the day as it looks like right now, but maybe more rapidly up towards Kalispell. And if that does occur, if that Arctic air does seep into your area, especially on those easterly winds coming down through places like Bad Rock Canyon, the northern half of the Flathead Valley, we could see that flash freeze concern towards Hungry Horse, Whitefish, Columbia Falls. And just as that colder air comes through there a little bit faster and freezes the moisture that's on the roads already. So even after the snow ends tomorrow, don't let your guard down if you're traveling. Just be aware of that possibility. And the same thing goes down into places like Bozeman. We could see that as well, though not quite as likely as what we're going to see further up into northwest Montana. So I think I will wrap it up from there. Thank you all for spending about 25, 30 minutes with me this evening. And I hope you all, again, have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there and enjoy. And yeah, again, and as Richard said, have a happy new year. I'm going to, I'll likely be back for another one of these as we head into early next week before we get into the new year. But for those of you who may not see another one of these, happy new year to you all. I hope your 2026 is as good, if it was a good 2025, if not better than your 2025 that you have had so far. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with me. If you get any photos or videos of the snow or the wind over the next couple days, or if you have from earlier today, feel free to share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime in. And then, of course, tune in to our broadcasts this weekend with our weekend crew for the latest news and weather updates. And then I'll be back early parts of next week for another one of these, and then for my normal routine at 5, 6, and 10. I know on Monday we've got some basketball we have to contend with in the middle parts of next week, but that's for next week, me to deal with and contend with. So have a great evening, happy Friday, and I'll see you all in the next one. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.